Don't pay extra money on your mortgage. Here's why. Sarah did what every financial expert tells you to do. Sarah paid off her mortgage 8 years early. She made extra payments every single month. She sacrificed vacations. She skipped upgrades. She was proud of it. Her neighbor, James, bought the same type of house, same price, same year. James never made a single extra payment. 20 years later, James had $140,000 more in his bank account than Sarah did. And Sarah did everything right. At least, that's what everyone told her. We grow up hearing the same thing. Pay off your debt fast. Extra payments save you interest. Debt is dangerous. Get out as quick as you can. And when it comes to credit cards or car loans, yes, absolutely. Pay those off fast. But a mortgage is different. Completely different. And the moment you treat them the same way, you start losing money without even realizing it. Here's the thing nobody explains clearly. There are 2 types of debt in your life. Debt that costs you. And debt that works for you. Most people never learn which one a mortgage really is. So they spend years, sometimes decades, throwing extra cash at it, feeling smart, feeling responsible. And in the background, quietly, they're making one of the most expensive financial mistakes of their life. Let's go back to Sarah and James. They both bought homes in 2004. Both paid $250,000. Both got a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest. Sarah read every personal finance book she could find. They all said the same thing: make extra payments. Pay it off early. Save thousands in interest. She was convinced. Starting in year 2, she added $400 extra every month to her mortgage payment. She told herself it was an investment. She told herself she was being smart. James, on the other hand, paid the minimum. People thought he was careless. His own family worried about him. But James was doing something with that $400 every month that Sarah wasn't. We'll get to that. But first, let's talk about what Sarah's plan actually looked like on paper, because on the surface, it looks brilliant. By making those extra payments, Sarah paid off her mortgage in 22 years instead of 30. She saved roughly $67,000 in interest. $67,000. That's real money. That's not nothing. And if you stop the story there, Sarah wins. Clearly. But the story doesn't stop there. It never does. Here's what changed everything. That $400 Sarah was sending to the mortgage every month. It was going straight into the equity of her home. Equity sounds great. It feels like savings. But equity sitting in a house does one thing: it sits there. It doesn't grow. It doesn't earn interest. It doesn't compound. Your house might go up in value, sure. But that has nothing to do with how much you paid down. A house worth $400,000 is worth $400,000 whether you owe $10,000 on it or $200,000. The market doesn't care about your extra payments. So Sarah spent years locking money away in an asset that couldn't use it. James took that same $400 every month and put it into a simple index fund. Nothing fancy. No stock picking. No risky moves. Just a basic, boring investment that tracks the market and has averaged around 8 to 10% annually over the last few decades. Now here's where the math gets uncomfortable. After 20 years, Sarah's equity in her house had grown, because she paid it down fast. She felt wealthy. She felt secure. But James's investment account had grown to roughly $240,000. From the same $400 a month. The difference? Compound interest. When you invest, your money earns returns. Then those returns earn returns. Then those earn more. It builds on itself, year after year, silently multiplying. When you make extra mortgage payments, you get none of that. You save interest, yes. But you lose the compounding. And compounding is the most powerful force in personal finance. Wait. Does that mean everyone should just never pay off their mortgage? No. And that's exactly where this gets more interesting. Here's the number that actually matters and almost nobody calculates it. Your mortgage interest rate versus your investment return rate. Sarah's mortgage was at 6%. If she invested instead and earned 9%, she came out ahead by 3% per year on every dollar she didn't put toward the mortgage. Over 20 years, on $400 a month, that 3% difference is worth over $100,000. That's the gap nobody sees. Now, if your mortgage rate is 8% and the market's returning 7%, pay extra. The math flips. But in most years, for most people, mortgage rates sit below long-term market returns. Which means locking your money into home equity is quietly costing you money. There's also a tax angle most people miss. In many countries, mortgage interest is tax-deductible. Which means the real cost of your mortgage is even lower than the rate on your statement. A 6% mortgage with a tax deduction might actually cost you 4.5% in real terms. Meanwhile, investments compound at 8, 9, 10%. The spread gets wider. The opportunity cost gets bigger. The extra payments look worse every time you run the numbers carefully. And then there's one more thing, the thing that catches people completely off guard. We don't make financial decisions with spreadsheets. We make them with feelings. And the feeling of owing less on your home is deeply, powerfully satisfying. It feels safe. It feels like progress. It feels like freedom is getting closer. That feeling is not wrong. But it can be expensive. There's a name for this. Financial psychologists call it debt aversion, the discomfort we feel just knowing we owe money, even when the math says it's working in our favor. Sarah wasn't making a bad emotional choice. She was making a very human one. But James understood something uncomfortable. Sometimes the right decision doesn't feel good. Sometimes you have to hold a mortgage and invest at the same time, knowing you could wipe out the debt but choosing not to. That takes a mindset most people never develop. And here's what makes it harder. Life happens. Job loss. Medical bills. A broken car. An unexpected expense. Sarah paid off her house faster, but in year 12, when she lost her job for 6 months, all that equity was locked inside her walls. She couldn't touch it without refinancing or selling. James had a liquid investment account. He could access it in 3 days. Liquidity is a form of financial safety that extra mortgage payments destroy. This is the part people forget when they're running the numbers. Flexibility has a value. Access has a value. And a house full of equity you can't reach is not the same as money you can use. Now, let's be fair. Because there are real situations where paying extra makes complete sense. If you have a high mortgage rate, say 7.5% or above, and you're conservative about investing, the guaranteed return of eliminating that interest might beat the uncertainty of the market. If you're close to retirement and want the security and reduced monthly expenses of an owned home, paying it down makes emotional and practical sense. If you genuinely cannot trust yourself to invest consistently, if that $400 would otherwise be spent on things that don't grow, then forcing it into the mortgage is better than the alternative. The worst financial plan isn't the imperfect one. It's the one you don't follow. And for some people, the peace of mind of owning their home outright is genuinely worth the mathematical cost. That's not wrong. That's a values decision. But make that choice intentionally. Don't make it because nobody showed you the other side. Sarah and James both owned their homes. Both lived well. Both made it through the same 20 years. But James had $140,000 more. Because he understood one simple thing. Not all debt is the enemy. Some debt, cheap debt, fixed debt, tax-advantaged debt, is a tool. And a mortgage, at the right rate, in the right hands, can be one of the most powerful financial tools you'll ever have access to. The goal isn't to own your home faster. The goal is to build wealth. Sometimes those are the same path. Often, they're not. Before you make your next extra payment, ask yourself one question. Is this the highest and best use of this dollar right now? Because that question, honestly answered, is worth more than any financial advice you'll ever read. If this made you see something differently, subscribe and hit the bell. Next video, we break down the one financial habit that looks responsible from the outside but quietly drains wealth for decades.